Welcome to another edition of The Bottom Line. Jim, we talk about the COVID-19 recession. Most people still talk about it in the present tense, but in all likelihood, it's over. It probably ended several months ago.
Well, we're seeing a rather rapid recovery in jobs. It's really surprising. In St. Louis, for instance, as of April and May, we're at 11% unemployment, a little lower than the nation was at that point. As of July, we were down to 8.2%, probably a little lower now. Nationally, we've replaced half the jobs we lost. It's a remarkably rapid recovery so far.
Just about, but there's still a long way to go, and that's why for most people it doesn't really feel like a recovery. There are a lot of people still out of work, still on either temporary or permanent layoff. Certainly the small businesses, the bars and restaurants and clothing stores that were affected by closings have not bounced back to to their former level.
I was looking at some figures for credit card spending, and it was really surprising. If you look at like discount stores, fast food restaurants, some regular restaurants, they've actually spending is higher than it was pre-pandemic. But if you look at obviously travel, leisure, hospitality, it's still way below. So parts of our economy have recovered, and parts are still lagging badly.
And it's a different recession and recovery than the pattern we're used to. I mean, the service industry is usually pretty stable, and things like healthcare tend to even grow during recessions. This time, those sectors got hit hard. Hotels, airlines, even hospitals and clinics were laying off employees temporarily because elective procedures were not being done. It started to come back somewhat, but manufacturing and construction have been the strongest sectors in this period.
Which is quite surprising. The question is, where do we go from here? Some of the government support has been cut off. That extra $600 that people are getting on their unemployment insurance was cut to $300, and not everybody was getting it. And now that's about to expire. A lot of the federal support for business has slackened. Are we going to continue this rapid recovery, or are we going to level off and do a slow recovery from here on? We don't know.
Well, I think the base case is it's probably going to continue. We won't see the job gains won't be as rapid through the fall as they were in sort of May, June, July, August. But I think we still continue a gradual comeback. Even so, it'll probably take until the end of 2021, sometime in 2022, to regain all those jobs that we lost.
That is, if we do slow down. The recovery so far has been remarkable, and there is a possibility that it could continue. We're seeing retail spending go up 0.6% in the last month, down from 0.9% in the previous month, but still that's rather fast. It depends, of course, on the virus and our reaction to it. If I would expect that if we had a vaccine announcement, in the next couple of months, you would suddenly see a lot of impetus behind a recovery. People, just the optimism level would rise, and that would lift the economy itself much faster. I don't know.
Well, we've had a lot of sort of optimistic announcements from the vaccine teams, which have boosted the stock market, and may have done a little bit for consumer confidence, but I don't think people will be going back to those service industries and the shopping malls until there's an actual vaccine in place and pretty widespread immunity. That will be sometime next, probably a year from now would be a good prediction on that. It's
And we do have some hits to come. The airline industry was basically subsidized up until October, by the federal government. They
Right.
gave the airlines a lot of money on the condition that they not lay off, but there are tens of thousands of layoffs coming there.
Also, state and local governments are really strapped. If they don't
Right.
get some kind of assistance from the federal government, you may start seeing a wave of layoffs there. So, I mean, talk about people are worried about the second wave of the virus. I think there could also be a second wave of, kind of economic hits.
We saw that in the last recession. The federal government subsidized the states for the first year or so, and then they cut it off. And we saw a second wave of layoffs when state governments, local governments began being hit hard. I'm thinking maybe January. We might start seeing that again if there's no federal bailout bill, a second bailout bill, and it doesn't look like there will be at this point.
It's looking, it's looking very doubtful this Congress. Perhaps after the election, you get a lame duck session. Maybe they agree on something. Hard to tell in this political season.
And then we have an election too, and we don't know the consequences of that. If Joe Biden wins, some corporations would be looking forward to a tax increase, perhaps. And
Now you're getting into our next episode.
We're getting
on the election and the consequences for the economy. So let's
of course.
Let's focus on COVID and the recovery for now.
Yeah.
I think the base case is for a gradual recovery to continue. There are dangers, of course. The virus could get worse, and there's also upside if we get good news on the infection front or on the vaccine front. It could even be a more vigorous recovery.
But it'll be a long time before we see 3.5% unemployment again, like we saw back in February.
Yes.